first and most significant addition I made to the shop was the addition of these lights. Now, I've purposely underexposed the shot just so you can see these LED lights. These are 8-foot runs. They plug in together and you can do up to 5 at a time, but they are super bright. This is obviously really underexposed just so you can see where they are, but they came in a 10-pack and that was really helpful, but they light up the room. They are super bright and very helpful, especially when I'm filming things in here, but just in general, I think a brighter shop tends to be a little bit safer. So I like those lights. They've worked really well. Number two, I really like having a TV in my shop, and it's a little bit unnecessary, but I like it. I like to put on a game or do something like that during work, even though I don't want to be too distracted, but I like to have it as an option out here. The one drawback of adding it over here rather than where it originally was, which was in that corner, is that there is a little bit of reflection from the lights, but I'm not watching it that intently. It's more background noise, so it's not a big deal. Usually I just throw on a movie, kind of throw on whatever I want. The next best addition to the shop was putting the drills and the bits over here. They used to be on that side of the shop in the old setup, and this is way better because this tends to be where I work. It's a small thing, but I used to be working here on the assembly table and I'd have to walk kind of across the garage and then back. And this isn't a big space, but it was enough of an inconvenience that having it right here was better, way smarter, just a way better fit. Also, I say this I think in every video, but I love these little Bosch drills. This isn't sponsored, but these are just awesome. If you are looking for lightweight, good drills in the shop, I like those. Unless you can afford Festool, then just get those. The next best upgrade to the shop is this Bosch sliding miter saw. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I was not a fan of the old rigid miter saw I had because even though the TV turned on. Anyway, because even though that rigid saw was really good for general construction, I sold it to a buddy who's going to love it because it's really good for chopping 2x4s and doing that kind of construction work. I needed something a little bit more precise for what I was doing. Again, I was hoping for the Capex. I thought I'd do that, but just when it came down to it, for the money and for what I do as a hobbyist, this is great and it's been super precise. I like how it works. I had bought a really nice dust extraction hood thing from a YouTube channel that was awesome. I really liked how it fit on there, but probably due to some of my error, but also just because there's some kickback, it exploded. So that's in a different video if you want to check that out. And therefore, it didn't work anymore. I wasn't going to buy another one. They're about 50 bucks a piece. And while I like to support other YouTubers and woodworkers, I didn't want to buy a separate one for 50 bucks. I already tried it. So what I did is I took the rubber shroud from that old one and hot glued it into the original Bosch shroud that's on here. And it works really pretty well. I think the difference is minimal. It actually has a smaller footprint than the old one. And I trust that if a cut piece hits this, I'm not going to get an explosion. And that was the problem with that last one. So here it's just going to hit it and it's going to get knocked aside. Again, you don't want to have those off-cut pieces just flying everywhere, and you should move your fence appropriately. I had a commenter talk about how it was my fault for how I set it up, and that's probably true. But at the same time, a lot of us aren't in that mindset when we have to cut a quick piece to set everything up flawlessly. To the point, this is a great miter saw. I really recommend it. It's been awesome. I love the depth here that it gives you. So it can just be benchtop height. Someone might say, well, doesn't this stick out? It's kind of in the way of this path. And it's easy just to rotate this thing out of the way if you need that. I haven't had a problem with it. I know where it is, just like a lot of us. I think when we're in our own shops, we kind of have a sense of where things are. Big win. I like this a lot. In addition to that, I covered this in a recent video also about your shop being too cold, but I added up here a space heater. I don't need it now because Portland's been like 90 degrees for quite a while, but this little infrared space heater is great. It warms you up. It doesn't necessarily warm the space up entirely. I have a different heater to warm the space up broadly, but when it's really cold in here and the insulation isn't doing a great job of making things warmer, you can easily just crank this thing on and you get very warm very fast. So this has been super nice for that reason. So this space used to have the TV in it, and it was great to have the TV and all that stuff. And during the pandemic, I had what I called my graphice over here because I literally was working out here for a time, which I lovingly call my graphice because it's where my computer is, so I can do all my editing. It has my safety equipment over here. It also stores a lot of my photography and videography stuff up here. So that's been really nice for when I come in here and I want to do a shoot or I want to take any video of anything. And also just to have the safety stuff here is super nice and very convenient. And it doesn't feel like this whole space is taken up by a TV. Another thing I really like, and this is going to sound like a total promotion, it's not, I promise, is this thing. This is called the Remarkable tablet. Again, this is not sponsored, but this has been really nice as a woodworker in the shop. I use it a lot for sketching, and then I can have my woodworking designs here. So on this page, I can make all sorts of designs, and then I can exit off of that or go to different pages within the different designs. Now, could you do that with a simple piece of paper? Absolutely. The nice thing about this is obviously it backs up to the cloud, and it also feels like paper. It has much more of that sense. There's no backlight to it. It feels really good for doing some simple sketches, simple designs here, and there's a whole bunch of different kind of tips you can use for your pencil and all that kind of stuff. It's not too expensive. I think it was like $3.99 or something like that, which for something I use quite a bit for work, but also in the shop, I really like this. So this has been a cool upgrade for me, just to have basically the convenience of paper that I can then take everywhere with me and work on sketches whenever I want to. Last upgrade I will talk about is the DeWalt DWC735. I'm not going to do a big review of this. There are so many of those out there, and it's a really popular hobbyist planer. What I've really liked about it is it's a lot quieter than any planer I've had in the past, and I added the helical head insert, and that has also helped with the noise reduction. It also provides a really clean cut. Installing it wasn't too tough. There were a couple nitpicky things. There's some really good YouTube videos on how to install it properly and make sure it's seated correctly and all that kind of stuff. But it's been an awesome upgrade. I'm really happy with it having two different speeds. So for rough cutting or for more fine cutting, it offers plenty of capacity for any kind of planing I've needed to do. I was debating really between a 15-inch standalone planer and this 13-inch planer, and for me it came down to, again, space. I put it right here at the end of what is my router table, and that tends to work for 80% of the time, unless I'm doing some kind of really big sheet on the table saw, and then I do have to move it, and it's heavy, but it's not so heavy at this point in my life that I can't pick it up and move it if I need to move it. So putting it at the end of my outfeed table here has worked really well, and it's been a really nice upgrade. So kind of a win-win here. Very happy with this.